The slap echoed through our quiet Willow Creek street that Saturday afternoon, a palm striking my mother's cheek. I watched, stunned, as my 60-year-old mother, Eleanor Harris, a retired schoolteacher who poured her life into education, staggered back, hand to her reddening cheek. The culprit, Margaret Pierce, Willow Creek HOA president, stood with her manicured hand raised, contempt burning in her eyes. "I've told you people 100 times about property standards," she spat, glaring at Eleanor like filth on her polished shoes. "Maybe now you'll learn to keep your trash cans in place." Margaret didn't know she'd miscalculated. She had no idea who I was, who my mother raised, or what would unfold 30 minutes after she assaulted Eleanor Harris in broad daylight. "I'm Daniel Harris, 35, half Vietnamese from my father, half black from my mother. For 12 years, I've been an FBI special agent, specializing in domestic terrorism and civil rights violations." Margaret had just made her life's biggest mistake. Eleanor moved to Cedar Vale Estates 5 years ago after Dad, a decorated Marine, passed. His pension and her retirement funded a modest, pristine home in this upscale neighborhood. From day one, Margaret made it clear Eleanor didn't fit, one of 3 black homeowners among 200 houses. Eleanor kept to herself, tended her garden, followed every HOA rule. That day's violation? A wind gust nudged her trash can 18 inches from its spot while she was at church. I was visiting, a monthly ritual. We'd just finished lunch when the doorbell rang, followed by aggressive knocking. "Coming," Eleanor called, waving off my offer to answer. I should have insisted. Margaret stood on the porch, flanked by 2 uneasy HOA board members, neighbors gawking from the sidewalk. "Mrs. Harris," Margaret began, skipping pleasantries, "your trash can's out of compliance again. 3rd violation this month." Eleanor blinked. "I'm sorry, I placed it correctly before church." "It's not there now," Margaret snapped, pointing. "I'm tired of reminding you of rules everyone else follows." I stepped to the doorway. "Is this confrontation necessary over a trash can moved by wind?" I asked calmly. Margaret's eyes narrowed. "And you are my son, Daniel," Eleanor said, pride in her voice. Margaret barely glanced at me. "I don't care who's visiting. The rules are the rules. I'm tired of special treatment for people who don't appreciate Cedar Vale's standards. The racism in people like you hung heavy." "There's no special treatment," Eleanor said. "I follow every rule. I'll fix the can now." She moved, but Margaret blocked her. "It's not just the can," Margaret said, voice rising. "It's the disruption you bring, visitors, loud music, cooking smells. You people don't know how to live in a civilized community." Eleanor never played music, slept by 9 p.m., and cooking smells meant ethnic food. "Mrs. Pierce," Eleanor said with dignity, "I've never had a noise complaint. Daniel's my only regular guest. There's a misunderstanding." Margaret stepped closer, hissing, "The misunderstanding is you thinking you belong here. People like you should know their place." Then, as Eleanor tried to respond, Margaret's hand struck her face, hard enough to make her stumble. The street fell silent. Even Margaret's allies looked shocked. One, an older woman, gasped and stepped back. I moved between them, every instinct screaming to retaliate, but that's not who Eleanor raised. "You just committed assault," I said, voice low. "Leave our property, or my mother may press charges." Margaret laughed. "Assault?" I was defending myself from her aggressive demeanor. She turned to her companions. "You saw, right?" They shifted, silent but compliant, her power clear. "I have security cameras," I said, pointing to the doorbell camera I'd installed after prior HOA visits. "Everything's recorded, including the assault and your lie." Margaret faltered, then rallied. "Unapproved cameras are a violation. I'll add that to Mrs. Harris's infractions." "The board's voting on eviction proceedings. Start packing." "You can't evict a homeowner," I said. She smirked. "We can make life so uncomfortable leaving's the only option. We've done it before." That admission was enough. I dialed a rarely used number. Sir, code red at my mother's address. Yes, correct. Thank you. I hung up, staring at Margaret. You have 30 minutes to consider your actions and prepare an apology. Use the time wisely. She rolled her eyes. Is that supposed to scare me? Who are you? I smiled slightly. You'll find out in 30 minutes. I need to tend to my mother, whom you assaulted. I guided Eleanor inside, shutting the door on Margaret's scoff, the entitlement of these people. Inside, Eleanor sat, hand on her cheek, a bruise forming. Her eyes held humiliation and resignation. I'm sorry you saw that, Daniel, she said. Margaret's been difficult, but never physical. I knelt beside her. You have nothing to apologize for. What she did was criminal. She won't get away with it. Eleanor sighed. It's not worth the trouble. Maybe I should move. This is your home, I said. You don't leave because of a prejudiced bully. Trust me to handle this. She nodded. I trust you, but don't risk your career. I kissed her forehead. Don't worry. Want tea? While Eleanor sipped tea, I called Director Thomas Carter, my FBI mentor from Quantico, the Willow Creek Police for an assault complaint, and the FBI's Civil Rights Division. For 3 years, I'd built a case on Cedar Vale's HOA, sparked by Eleanor's stories, uncovering discriminatory patterns across regional HOAs, fines, fraud, intimidation. Exactly 28 minutes after the slap, black SUVs rolled up, 10 FBI vehicles surrounding Margaret's house 3 doors down, agents in tactical gear forming a perimeter. Eleanor peered out. Daniel, what's happening? Justice, I said, guiding her to the porch. Director Carter approached, suit impeccable, silver hair gleaming. Agent Harris, he greeted, shaking my hand. This is my mother, Eleanor Harris. Carter took her hand, noting the bruise with a tightened jaw. Mrs. Harris, an honor. Your son's one of our best. I'm sorry for today, but it won't go unaddressed. Neighbors emerged, stunned, as agents approached Margaret's home. She peered out, phone to ear, panic rising. An agent knocked. No response. Carter signaled. 2 agents secured the back. Margaret opened the door, voice trembling. What's this about? Margaret Pierce, Carter said. I'm Director Thomas Carter, FBI. We're executing a search warrant for civil rights violations, financial fraud, harassment, and assault. Margaret paled, spotting us. This is ridiculous. We can and are, Carter said, handing her the warrant. A 3-year investigation shows your HOA targeted minority homeowners with excessive fines, selective enforcement, and intimidation. Our financial crimes unit found embezzlement of HOA funds under your control. Margaret stared at me. Your FBI? I didn't respond. Agents led Margaret to a vehicle. Her 2 board allies approached Carter, eager to cooperate, later detailing Margaret's discriminatory acts and fraud to avoid charges. Neighbors watched as Margaret, petty tyrant of Cedar Vale, was driven away, her facade crumbling in 30 minutes, as promised. Carter returned. Mrs. Harris, we'll need a statement, but it can wait until tomorrow. Agent Lee will photograph your injury. Eleanor nodded. I'm ready now. I want this resolved properly. As she spoke with Lee, Carter pulled me aside. You should have brought this sooner, Daniel. Using bureau resources for personal, it wasn't personal until today, sir, I said. The HOA investigation predates this. It just intersected. He nodded. Your documentation's impeccable. The case stands, but step back from the investigation. Understood, sir. Thank you. After the FBI left with Margaret, records, and her computer, neighbors approached. An elderly couple led. The husband, leaning on a cane, faced Eleanor. Mrs. Harris, we owe you an apology. We saw Margaret's behavior for years and stayed silent, afraid. No excuse. One by one, neighbors admitted complicity or shock, some insulated by privilege. Eleanor listened with grace, nodding without judgment. Inside, she sat weary. Will anything change? Yes, I said, holding her hand. Margaret faces federal charges, the HOA will reform, and the neighborhood's awake. Dad would be proud. She smiled. He said you'd do big things. 3 months later, Margaret Pierce pleaded guilty to civil rights violations, fraud, and assault, sentenced to 5 years in federal prison with restitution to targeted homeowners. Cedar Vale's HOA restructured. Eleanor declined a board role but joined a diversity committee for inclusivity. The incident sparked a nationwide FBI probe into discriminatory HOAs, leading to new federal oversight and training. Eleanor still lives in her home, gardens, and waves to neighbors who now wave back warmly. Her trash can stay precise, not from fear, but because that's who Eleanor Harris is: dignified, kind, even to the undeserving. Margaret learned the hard way: you never know who's watching when you show your true colors.